It's day 3 of the Tour of Beijing. I'm Phil Liggett and welcome along to this 5-day race, which is now completed more than half of its scheduled 835 kilometers by the end of this day. Traditional Chinese welcome here in Yanqing for the riders now as they move out with a ride of 176 miles today, kilometers rather, as the riders head up to penetrate the Yanqing Mountains. This is a man riding his last Grand Tour there, Juan Antonio Fletcher, while other riders meeting the local cyclists. Bernhard Eisel of Austria and riding for the Sky team, enjoying the moment as well. The race is still very finely poised after 2 days of racing, the sprinters having their say, and 145 riders are separated by just 10 seconds. Tony Martin there, the only winner of this race in the 2 years it's been held, still looking to support the world in white. They're saying that the child was sick, would he go home, and he left this morning, so sadly no Tor Hushoff taking the start today. Tony Martin is though number 1, a winner for the past 2 years. 151 riders still in the race from the 153 that set out, and both days have been won by sprinters. Tor Hushoff winning the first stage and taking the leader's red jersey, and Nasser Bouani, the French rider on FDJ, winning yesterday's stage and taking the red jersey away from Tor Hushoff. But equal on time. It was all on count back at the stage finish yesterday. The Belgian riders here also having their moments of fun. So to the third day then, as the riders make a course here which starts at Yanqing, which has become the headquarters for the last couple of days now. The riders going through the town itself, plunging south, then going north through the mountains. 7 climbs on the menu today, as well as 3 time bonus sprints before they come through to the finish at Chaoyang Temple. A temple which stretches back many hundreds of years. And at the third attempt after 3 days, I think we've got those pistol shots almost in unison now as the riders roll away. 10 seconds covering the majority of the field. Time bonus is making the difference, but the riders this morning thinking that the race will split on the roads today as we go into the steeper climbs in the mountain range just to the north and northwest of Beijing itself. About 2.5 hours drive to the finish line today if you're in a car. Greg Griffiths, the Australian assistant referee, just waiting for the flag to come in and start the race. And immediately, of course, attacks from the gun. Well, for the last 2 days we've had a breakaway pretty much from the start, establishing itself. No change today. 6 riders getting clear of the race here. After 20 kilometers it took them though, and before the first climb of the day. Mark Hoos of Belgium, Damiano Caruso of the Cannondale team, Wesley Sulzberger of Orica Green Edge, Hayden Rolson of Radio Shack, Albert Timmer of Argus Shimano and Manuela Boro of the Saxo Tinkoff team. Looking here at the Cannondale rider, Caruso, as they continue now to try and get a little bit of a lead over the field here. There's every possibility a breakaway today might survive to the finish. There's not many flat roads. Excellent countryside, as you'll see, that we're racing through today. High mountains, good smooth roads as the riders continue on. The peloton, apart from the leading rider holding tempo, are all led here by Team FDJ, with the red jersey of Buhani just behind. There he is. Scored his 10th victory of his career, of his season rather, yesterday. Well, the lights on the cars. A little bit of overcast conditions today, as we're quite a way north of Beijing itself, about 150 kilometers. The town's all colourful and ready for the arrival of the Tour of Beijing in an area it's not seen before. Good tempo riding. So far though, the battle of the smaller hills have been won largely by Caruso, who's building himself a lead in the King of the Mountains competition. One day after his 26th birthday. He's number 52. Hayden Rulson is the rider in black from New Zealand, just behind him. Man that was once forced out of the sport because of a problem with his heart, but it was found to be a false alarm, thankfully, and after a short time out he's come back and he's riding some years now right at the top of his sport. Pace being set at the moment by Mark, who's the youngest rider in this breakaway, just 22 years of age. Young track cyclist who's been drawn by the attraction of riding long distance road races. And an attack there for the top of this climb. Caruso has really caught Wesley Sulzberger napping there, and if he can hold it on just around the corner is the finishing line. Sulzberger's after him. They've shared all of the points, first and second place overall, and that gives Caruso the lead in the King of the Mountains title now, because Thomas de Gent, who got the lead yesterday, back in the peloton. He wants to try and keep this working because the gap is coming down quite rapidly behind the race here. Just over a minute behind are the main field, and I think he sensed that they're starting to come back now. We've got a very good descent off here, a chance maybe to speed on down towards the last climbs of the day. Work being done by the team AG2R La Mondiale, the French team here, the other French team that's having a great ride, and they're now coming up to that same sprint point, so they're not that far behind just now. They've got Maxime Bouet with the retirement of Thor Hushovd. He's in second place overall in this race after he grabbed 9 seconds in time bonuses yesterday in the breakaway. So they've got a plan and they're putting it into action just now. Stunning scenery here in the mountains north of Beijing. Now these two riders trying to recover from the damage of that attack there by Caruso. Albert Timmer just disappearing around the corner in front, but they should come back together again because they're closing in. This is Boro at the back and Hayden Rolson at the front, just trying to recover from the sharp attack going up. Trying to get on terms first of all with Albert Timmer, I think. Keeps disappearing just round the corner ahead, and there's plenty of corners on the race route today. In fact, there's very little straight road now. Now we've penetrated into the heart of the mountains here. Yanqing mountain range. They're the four leaders. Timmer has just come onto the back of them, so that means the other two are very close now. So very shortly the 6 riders are going to come back together again here. The first sprint of the day was won by Michael Matthews, the Australian, who's been trying to win the 2 daily stages without success, but he tested himself this morning in the first sprint at only 17 kilometres in, where he got the better of Matti Breschel, and indeed the world champion Rui Costa also sprinting well there to 3rd place. But since then, moving away very quickly, these 6 riders have been clear over all of the hills. surprisingly, again, the peloton is not splitting up. Very fast tempo racing, but they're all holding in there. Almost across the gap here. It's been a tough chase for these two. Timmer did it well. He hangs on to the back of those three. The Argos Shimano tactician. Big final effort coming now from Manuela Boro. Almost on. They still need plenty of firepower here as we're heading some way to go before the finish yet. And they're just looking across the left because they know now the gap is down to around about 50 seconds. And they're trying to see if they caught a glimpse of the peloton coming down the other slopes across the valley. An area which here is famous for its deep gorges and river run. And they're just trying to get a look at that. I think it said 50 seconds. I couldn't quite read the board. Timmer, who's just recovered now from his chase back, is giving it a little bit go. 50 seconds is confirmed to the riders here. And this chase back coming very, very early on at the moment. As we look at the stunning scenery being collected by our helicopter camera here. The leaders are on the left-hand side of this bend, and the leaders rather just under the camera, and the main peloton, we should catch a glimpse of. There they are across the valley there. And that is closer than 50 seconds, I would suggest right now, and a lot of cars behind these leading riders. It's going to be a problem where they're going to put them if that peloton continues at this pace. Driven on all of the time by the AG2R team. Now remember, they've got a good rider as a possible candidate for victory, because tomorrow we have the first ever mountaintop finish in the modern history of the Tour de Beijing. Christophe Riblon, the winner on Alpe d'Huez in the Tour de France this summer, where they climbed that mountain twice in the 100th edition of the big race. And I must say, if he's recovered now, and I think he probably has, he's got a good chance tomorrow on the climbs. 38 seconds, absolutely coming off this mountain at high speed. And we'll see the same picture that we're seeing now, the leaders across the valley. Incredible how they built these roads around this mountain. They followed the contours of the mountain all the time. That's why there's hardly a straight road on it, gradually going down, losing height. We're up over 850 meters, descending down to 450. Caruso at the back, just at this moment in time. The only man who need concern him now is Wesley Sulzberger. They're going neck and neck for the King of the Mountains' next lead. De Gent had 25 points after yesterday's ride, but they both exceeded that here now. Well, this has been a very aggressive race today, but not really with the riders we were expecting to play the cards. They are still waiting for tomorrow's mountain stage, the Queen stage as we call it. They have a first category climb midway through, and then a first category climb all the way to the line. And reported to be very, very steep indeed, with hairpin bends all the way. Well, it won't be much further down this descent before we run off into the village. They're down at the bottom, and these 6 riders, here the names again for you, have been away for most of the stage again today. At 34 seconds, they'll be looking to see the village without the peloton snapping at the heels right now. Little matter of about 10 cars between the peloton in that 34-second gap. Approximately 125 riders are chasing. Peloton to the left coming down the slope. Leaders just circumnavigating that sharp right-hander. And as the peloton go around the top, We've got the leaders passing by just beneath them on the lower slopes. What a magnificent picture that is. All the pressure of the peloton being felt by the 6 riders in the lead, being led at the moment by the Belkin rider, Marco Cruz. And this brings them off the climb here for the moment, more or less. A little bit more into the village. Sharp left-hander there, well barriered and protected. Now there's a lot of movement coming off from the peloton here. And you can see from that peloton now it has reduced in size on the way up that climb. There's riders coming back at the moment across the gap. We look at Jesus Herrada, champion of Spain, on the front here. He's a pretty good sprinter as well, but at the moment setting the tempo for the Movistar team. AG2R anxious to keep the pressure on. They've got these leaders almost in the sights now. 27 seconds the gap. As we continue off this second category climb, Caruso, job done at the top, has not been too much interested in keeping this breakaway clear. And it could be to his advantage if the breakaway gets caught, because with the 1/3 category climb remaining, Sulzberger would need to win that climb to get up alongside Caruso. But if they're all caught, then it's unlikely they'll contest the points, and that would work out in favour of the Italian. Well, they know they're coming now. They're all looking over the shoulders. There they are. This is the actual chase group here splitting up, and the Lotto rider saying, it's Adam Hansen, why don't we work together? We've got a gap here. Nobody seems too interested. They've worked pretty hard to get a gap, but they're not interested in pushing it on. But I think they are now, because this is Movistar with a little nod of the head, very European that, saying, well, if nobody else will, I will. If this group can just reach the 6 front runners, they have a chance to move clear again. There's the leaders, and up comes that group. 8 men trying to cross the gap here. Will give us 14 men up front. The leaders just taking a look, see who's coming. They're double taking because they're seeing this is not the complete peloton. So they might decide to try and join in on this one. There's now 14 riders at the head of the race. One small climb to come, a sprint, and then you're into the finish itself. Well, the peloton itself has suddenly found a sudden surge there. Steve Cummings is the rider in red. Well, with the loss of Thor Hushoff today, they've got nobody to defend for at the moment, Team BMC, but they might be trying to save Matthias Frank, who's a very good climber, for tomorrow. Fortunes could return again for the Team BMC from the USA. But this group is simply has no coordination whatsoever here, and right across the grass, that's the man who once won the Crocodile Trophy mountain by grace in the Northern Territory of Australia. Adam Hansen has made a move, decided to pick up the pace a little bit more here. This is the sprint just around the corner, but he's not really interested in the bonus, although, as like everybody, 10 seconds off the race lead, 3-second bonus on the line, moves him up nicely in the overall classification as we come towards the end of the 3rd day of racing, and there's no reaction, not to speak of anyway. But the way Adam Hansen is riding this, he wants help, he wants somebody to move with him, and all they're doing are blocking the attacks. See, they're sitting up again, and Hansen has realised it, so he's going to keep his head down. This is the last sprint of the day here. Leaves them about 30 kilometres still to run. And Hansen has decided enough is enough. He's going to try and go alone. Some 29 kilometres from the finish. No, he's not quite over the line, so he's 30 kilometres from the finish, and he's going to get the 3-second bonus. And he certainly worked for it. So that's closed in on the overall leader for the moment at least. And add on the gap between him and the rest of the race, it makes him the leader on the road just now. Hansen, who comes from near Cairns in Queensland, a very warm part of Australia. I find it a bit chilly today here, although he's based in Europe, and this year has completed all 3 Grand Tours, as he did last year. Tremendous achievement. That's 9 weeks in racing in just 3 bike races, tours of Spain, Italy and France. Just in those 3 races alone, he's probably raced somewhere in the region of 10,000 kilometres. Now he's been given a little bit of a gap as they all argue who's going to chase. But he's still a long way to go to the finish. The pressure is definitely off in that group. They continually look over the shoulder. And the main field, Steve Cummings there on the right, is sitting up, waiting. The breakaway that was is all mixed up with this group. And now they're waiting to see who's going to come up from the peloton, because there they are, the whole field, more or less. It's not the complete field. There are still riders behind from the attacks on the mountains, but it's a big group, this, at least 60, 70 riders. Maybe more. So they've regrouped. And Adam Hansen, who has won the time trial championship before in Australia, he won in Buninyong a few years ago now, which is the gold mining town outside of Ballarat in Victoria, which is the traditional home for the Australian Road Championships. And there is Hansen now. He's certainly got the talent to hold riders off at 50 kilometres an hour, but it's a long way to the finish when you've got the pressure of these riders. He's got 25 seconds now. He's opened it up quite a lot. Small 3rd category climb. If he tops out on the top of this climb, it'll be 11 kilometres running pretty quickly, mostly downhill to the finish, which is a sharp right turn, just over 500 metres from the line. It's a real 90-degree angled. Riders who are going to win need to be in the top 10 riders around that corner. There's a little indication on the right of our picture. The red dot is the peloton, the green is Hansen. Left-handed swoop now on this course all the way down to the finish. Not surprisingly, it's Team FDJ who've taken over at the front now for the red jersey down the line there. As Buani takes a drink and waits, and he must be feeling pretty happy with the way the team's looked after him today. He's got Michael Matthews on his back wheel, and Luke Derby is just behind him, the champion of Australia. Matthews has tried 2 days to win the sprint, hasn't worked out for him yet. Maybe today. But I would think that Nasser Buani was not expecting to be at this part of the race, the sharp end, so near the finish in a day through the hills. And so far, he's done extremely well. The red jersey, as always, inspiring a rider when you lead a Grand Tour like this. A Grand Tour with a small G. The Grand Tours are France, Italy and Spain. This is the last tour in the World Tour Series this year. Already won the series by Joaquim Rodriguez after finishing 2nd in the World Championships. He then went on to win the Tour of Lombardy one-day classic, and that gave him the lead over the Tour de France winner Chris Froome. Neither rider competing yet. Full of determination. Everybody will be cheering on. He's got a big following back home in Australia. These pictures are being seen in Australia. And Adam Hansen, a quiet but very, very strong bike rider. not far away from the climb. He's gone through 25 kilometers ago. Well, he is a little bit of away from it just at the moment. About 10 kilometers to the base of the last climb of the day. As we watch here, team time trial for Team FDJ, all in favour of the man they know has the sprint ability to win if they can deliver him to the line. Mountains all around today, and I found out early today that the leopard still roams freely in these mountains, so the boys better keep to the route. Hansen wisely just taking on board a little bit of fuel. Still 20 plus kilometers from the finish. The peloton are in full shout. That's the result of the sprint. Hansen came through on his own, but Rory Sutherland, another Australian there on Saxo. Tinkoff in second place, in Benoit in Tausti in third place. First time he's scored some bonuses since the race began. Taking the shortest way possible here, clipping off the apex of the corners, but this field is having an effect. They're still coming up, and it's noticeable now that Orica Greenedge, because a number of teams here who carry sprinters didn't really expect this to be a sprint today, but now they know it could be if they can pick up Adam Hansen, who has now gone through 20 kilometers from the finish. He's been ahead then for just about 7 kilometers just now. Words of encouragement from his team car. For the third day in a row, Lotto have been spearheading the race with a lone rider towards the finishing line, and so far none has been successful. On day one, Sander Cordeel was caught 5 kilometers out. Yesterday, Olivier Kaiser was caught 8 kilometers out, and here we are now about 18 kilometers from the finish with another Lotto rider trying to make it to the finish. Like the other two, the referees have just voted Adam Hansen the most aggressive rider of the day with his solo effort, so he's assured of a prize at the finish. In fact, the most aggressive riders have been won all 3 days by Lotto men. The only thing in his favour right now is there's no straight roads here like the last 2 days. They keep twisting and turning. 57 seconds, well, he's holding them. It's come back, but it's not coming back that quickly just now. A lot of pressure being done by Team FDJ. A little bit of help coming from Orica Greenedge. Other sprinters teams just watching. The peloton here is apparently 58 riders strong now. So quite a lot of riders were dropped on the last climb. Interestingly though, they kept a known sprinter and not a very good climber in Nanser Buani in the lead group here, and he's looking pretty strong as he sits on the tail of his team. Just behind him is also a teammate, that's the champion of Finland in the white jersey, Jussi Veikkonen. He's the rear guard for the man in red. A lot of these riders though at the back are the climbers, and they're waiting for the finish tomorrow before they play their cards. If this race continues to be a battle of just a hatful of seconds, whoever wins tomorrow will win the race overall, because the time gaps will be much bigger tomorrow at the finish. Orica Greenedge lining up there with all of their team. Behind the Team FDJ, the lime green colours in favour of Viviani down there, of Cannondale. Garmin Sharp moving the men forward now. They've got a good sprinter in Steele von Hoff. And then we come to the end of the line here. Joshua Edmondson is the rider last in line. This is Zhicheng, China. What a great ride he's doing as well. It's his first year on the Arga Shimano World Tour team, and that's put a Chinese rider right at the top of his game now. Tremendous achievement against these riders who are vastly more experienced. But the Chinese cyclists are making big progress. 15 kilometers to go now. He's knocking off these kilometers at about 1 minute and 20 seconds just at the moment. More encouragement. Well, what can you say to a rider who's leading the race and knows they're chasing him, except go faster. It's been a superb effort, this, by Adam Hansen, and to be expected by this man as well. He's only won 4 races as a professional, but he's an animator of races, and his best win was the 7th stage of the Giro d'Italia this year, and well deserved it was, in a race that was haunted by atrocious weather conditions. Well, he's not very far away from starting the climb. He's trying to keep his tempo going here. This isn't exactly a climb, but it hurts when you're trying to race it as quick as you can pedal. It's just a little ramp up. As you can see by the way he's riding now, he's not quite as smooth as he was. And I hate to say it, but when the camera pulls away in a helicopter like this, it's usually to show us the location of the peloton, and there they are. They've closed that down. That's about 25 seconds, I would say, for the peloton, so they're going to feel pretty convinced they've got the control now of Adam Hansen, because he's still got this one small climb to come, which could be a springboard for anybody to get away before the finish. He's very close to starting that climb now, Adam Hansen. And Orica Greenedge, the irony of it all, an Australian team chasing an Australian, but on a separate team, of course. Hansen on Lotto Belisol. This is the team now, are hoping that Michael Matthews will finish the day off in favour. Had a great Tour de France. They dominated the opening week of the Tour de France with 2 different riders wearing the yellow jersey for a total of 4 days. Stage win in the team time trial and in the individual races as well with Simon Guerin. So they had a wonderful Tour de France, and now they're trying to get a stage win in the Tour de Beijing. And there's the catch, and it's come literally as the last climb of the day has begun. 12.4 kilometers to go now. Luke Durbridge in the white jersey there, but on the same team, Orica Greenedge. His mouth wide open in his concentration. Turbo Durbo they call him, because he's such a strong rider. Ivan Basso in the centre in the Cannondale colours of lime green. A little bit of an attack now coming away here from Movistar. Become more animated on this stage, the road terrain more in their favour, and also this could have been a command from the other Movistar rider there, the world champion. Rui Costa might have said, let's give this little third category climb a real go and see if we can crack the peloton, and that's exactly what is happening. Jan Bakelants is up there in 3rd place. Ivan Basso for Cannondale. Looks as though it could be Robert Hessink there has also got in for Belkin at the back of the race. BMC have spotted it, putting 2 men onto the tail, and the split is there. It's about a 2.5–3 kilometre ascent this before we start to run down to the finish. These climbs on very good roads, and as we come up towards the kilometre sign now, are very, very fast. The riders use very high gears, keeping a fast tempo at the climb, and try as they might, they still have not broken this peloton. It's been halved in size for sure, but that's about it. There's still at least 60 riders down there who fancy they can win this stage today. Nice to see the world champion there in the white jersey riding near the front. He's had a very good day today, maybe testing himself for tomorrow. Tony Martin comes through, tries to finish it off towards the top of the time, climb rather, That's caused the world champion to grimace in the third wheel. Big effort by Tony Martin. He's the only winner of this race in the 2 years it's been held. He led it from start to finish in the first year, and last year he got the lead on the second stage, not too far away from here actually, in Montogo, where he got away on his own and got just enough time to take the race lead and hold the time he gained right to the end. Bakelants attacks again, marshalled by BMC. They are climbing this race so fast, nobody can actually crack the peloton at all. They can't get off the front as an individual. Looks to me in the blue jersey like Dan Martin too, who's, if there is an outstanding favourite for this race above all the others, it would probably be Dan Martin, Garmin Sharp Rider in the dark blue jersey, because he's a very good climber and he's got good form. Over the top we go, and nobody has cracked the elastic. Martin comes back to the front. Rui Costa is there. Fast descent this one now, 10.9 kilometres to go. Incredibly good descending, really fast now. Our motorbike camera better notice the speed of these boys coming down this mountain, because they're going to be on him. And just look at the descending power of Tony Martin here. He's really stretched Rui Costa. There's the beautiful autumnal scene here as we descend away from the mountain now, heading down towards the finish. We drop down to 450 metres for the finish itself. I'm just wondering if Tony Martin here is trying to crack them on the way down. He's taking a lot of risks on the descent, and it's his only card he's got to play today, because he can't sprint finish. The leaves here have turned in the last 3 weeks. There's another month's time. Snow might begin to fall here in the mountains, but Tony Martin isn't thinking of that right now. It's rather warm down there for him. Just one rider tries to stay on terms with him, Rui Costa. Prizing open a little bit of a gap here, and he's taking risks, and he's holding that bike really tight as he takes that right-hander. Terrific bike riding skills. He showed us he could, though, in this very race on day 2. Now he's trying to show us again. He knows he only needs a few seconds. He's in that big margin of some 130-40 riders, 10 seconds off the red jersey. So he knows he only has to stay clear, because there's a 10-second win bonus plus the gap you have over the field. And you know, that could be the winning gap for the whole race. And he's pulling away here. Once he's off this descent, though, it doesn't actually fly all the way to the finish today. It levels and plateaus out as we race in the last few kilometres to the line. But Tony Martin is showing everybody how to go downhill quickly here. Of course, he's got the privilege of a totally closed highway, so there's nobody going to be coming up the road towards him, but make sure you youngsters watching don't try this when you're out riding your bike. Still the world champion. Stuck a little bit in no man's land now, because Tony Martin is pulling away here. He's giving us all a demonstration of how to handle a bike at 65-70 kilometres an hour. Those narrow tyres just about gripping the road, pumped up 4 times the pressure of a motor car tyre. Every time he comes off that bend, he kicks. He's using our motorcycle as a nice carrot. It's not sheltering him, anything like that, but of course he's up in front of him and he's chasing it. Now that long road ahead doesn't look too conducive as the riders come off this little hill. Tony Martin now, the familiar sight that has won him the World Time Trial Championship for the last 3 years. Look over his shoulder to see what's going on. And the peloton have really found their legs again here. They've caught the stragglers, they've caught Rui Costa, and they've got him back in their sights. We've just passed 5 kilometers to go, so it looks like Tony Martin is not going to have the dream attack here. He said before he started this race he didn't think the riders would let him get away with a move like he pulled last year, and he might be proving to have said the right thing here, because he's tried the move he pulled last year and they've come after him. He's making the work every inch of the way, which will disturb the rhythm of the sprinters, as the teams have got to chase this rider. Luke Durbridge is the man trying to wind him in for the Australian Orica Green Edge team. He himself is a very, very good time trial, former time trial champion of his country as well, and a medalist in the under-23 World Time Trial Championships. And Durbridge has now brought them back up to him. Big effort, job done, and he's put Michael Matthews back in the mix for a possible sprint victory, unless they allow this attack coming from Team BMC to succeed. Marco Pinotti has made his move. Good opportunist. He is the time trial champion of Italy. Good marking by Team FDJ and Team Katusha, because they have a good sprinter in Alexei Sacevic. So they'd like it all to come down together now. Harada on the right blocked it off for Movistar, that dark coloured jersey. AG2 are here. It looks in the effort to catch up with Tony Martin has thinned down even more here. Doesn't look as though there's a full cluster of riders that went on the start of that third category climb, but the red jersey, he's down the back of the bunch, but he hasn't been left by this group. Buani is about 2/3 down at the moment. Now his team, and there's only one of them here on the front, are going to start looking for him shortly, if there's anybody else left in the group. There aren't too many blue. I think the other blue jerseys are down by, and they are. So they've gone back to try and shepherd him through, because we're running out of kilometres now as we head towards the finish. A little bit of a rush up the outside now as the teams try to position themselves for the finishing line. Well, Buani may have missed out on this one because there's not far to go, and he's not in the top 10 riders here just now. This is looking to be a very unusual sprint at the moment. Martin Cora is down there up near the front. The Team BMC, Herrada is there, the champion of Spain. The black jerseys of Team Sky trying to put riders to the fore now. This could be a very different sprint to the two we've seen so far in the Tour of Beijing. As we continue to race towards the sharp finish, there's the 2 kilometre sign. The sharp right-hander to the left of our picture will be coming at 500 metres to go. Omega Pharma Quickstep got control at the front now. Their sprinter Alessandro Patacchi, and it could also be their young sprinter as well, because they have 2 sprinters on the block. Maas is the other sprinter, Nicholas Maas. Katusha are well up in those red jerseys. And just look in the centre of your picture there, because riding on the back wheel of the world champion is the red jersey now of Nesa Buani. The thing about sprinters are they're afraid of the day when it goes over hills, but if they find themselves still in with a chance of victory this close to the finish, they are very difficult to spot, because they become totally inspired by the situation. And he's moved halfway up the field now. Tony Martin still up. Despite his late effort, he's still prepared to work for his sprinter Patacchi. Now Patacchi is the rider on the far right, peeping in and out of our picture with the solid green jersey on. He's leading the points classification. Well, he isn't actually. He's borrowed that jersey. He's in second place. Buani is also leading that. 1 kilometre to go. 450 metres to the sharp right turn. Patacchi's in a brilliant position here. Third wheel on the wheel of 2 teammates. Looks as though we've got Sacevic of Katusha has also got him nicely positioned. This is the braking now for the sharp sweeper. It's a 90-degree turn as they line up. They'll see the finishing banner as they come off this bend. They can see where the line is now as they continue to race towards the finishing line. And the final lead out here coming from Amigo Farmer Quickstep, and Pataki is in a perfect position. Satjevic is in third place, a break on the left by Martin Kohler in the BMC jersey. But Satjevic has gone up on the inside. I don't know what happened to Pataki. He moved far too late. And look at this now. Bohani has come through an impossible gap, slipped through on the fence, and is going to win the stage by a good clear length. Well, that is a pure sprinter for you. And as he waves two fingers at us, 2 wins in 2 days, and his 11th victory of the season. An incredible score for him. And that was a perfect sprint for a man at the top of his profession. He scrolls through on that fence there. I thought he left it too late, but he had pure speed, and this is the group which was actually dropped on the last climb of the day. So a lot of riders have paid the price today on the running because of the sheer speed of it. And there's a lot more riders to come behind this group as well. That finishing group turned out to be around about 50 riders strong. Crowd appreciating them coming in. And there he is down there in the red. And well, a 10-second win bonus, no gain over the riders right behind him. They come in the same time, but he has increased his overall lead, which overnight was just 1 second over Maxime Bouet. So now he's taken on a 10-second bonus there. Michael Matthews was the rider who came over in second place, so he might have moved up into a pretty high position overall. And that is the champion of Finland and teammate of Buani, Veikkonen, saying you've done it again. Watch right down on the inside here, because it looked as though Satjevic had won this, but the gap was left open by Pataki, and following through was Buani. And then the kick came here. This was a Mark Cavendish finish, to say the least. The world's proclaimed fastest sprinter of the moment. He's gone. He gets the victory. All the same time, of course, Michael Matthews, Tetjevic, Elia Viviani, Martin Kohler and Bodo Bosic getting up there for 6th.
Nasser, deuxième sprint, deuxième victoire, c'était magnifique aujourd'hui.
Oui, c'était une journée vraiment difficile. Le parcours était compliqué, donc au départ on ne savait pas trop comment ça allait courir. Je ne savais pas si j'allais passer, mais les jambes étaient bonnes. Mon équipe m'a épaulé vraiment toute la journée encore, et je leur ai dit la victoire parce que sans eux, je pense que j'aurais pas gagné aujourd'hui.
Effectivement, aujourd'hui c'était une étape montagneuse a priori, pourtant ça se termine au sprint. Comment ça s'est passé?
On a contrôlé, on a laissé partir 6 coureurs. Ensuite on a contrôlé, on a eu l'aide quand même de Green Edge et de Quickstep. Surtout Quickstep, ouais, qui nous ont beaucoup aidés tout au long de l'étape. Et après voilà, j'avais vraiment des coéquipiers extra aujourd'hui. Encore dans la dernière difficulté, toute l'équipe a basculé sur peut-être une 60aine de coureurs qui devaient rester. Et après on a roulé, on s'est pas posé de questions jusqu'à l'arrivée. Ensuite dans le sprint, avec tout le boulot qu'ils avaient fait, moi je me suis débrouillé seul, mais ça me dérange pas de temps en temps d'être seul, j'arrive aussi à me débrouiller seul.
Très bien, bravo, merci.
Yes, thanked his team, said it was a complicated stage, but it's meant he now leads this race, and there's the overall standing by 11 seconds as Michael Matthews, another sprinter, moves into second place, and Bouet slips just one to third place. Same time though, Satjevic, they're all sprinters these really. Tomorrow we should see a very, very different race, but for the moment the red jersey stays on the shoulders Buani of France.
那么今天来自博彩车队的波汉尼再度保住了他的红色领旗衫。下面有请汤姆先生为波汉尼颁发特色奖品以及吉祥物。
Today, let him enjoy 2 days in red.
We also
for
present
Buani
him
of
every day
France.
with
Hope you
or the
enjoyed
winner
coverage, and we'll see you
with
all
some special
tomorrow.
awards,
Climb the
and
mountain.
Mr. Tom Grimmer presents him with those awards.